Hello students. In previous lecture of unit 3, that is natural resource, we have completed all four type of resources. The first was land resource, the second was forest resource, the third was water resource, and the fourth was the energy resource. So out of all those four natural resources, we have completed. Now, in this lecture of part 2, lecture 5, we will discuss some renewable and non-renewable resources with the help of this presentation. What are natural resources? The materials we use from nature. So, the name itself reflects that natural resource is whatever the material which is available in the nature and which is provided to us by the nature, such as wind energy, water plants, animals, and fossil fuels. To make the things we need are called natural resources. They are the basis of life on earth. So if we see water energy, wind energy, water, plants, animals, and fossil fuel, all these are the resources which are provided to us by the nature. That's why we call them as natural resources. And these natural resources like water, plants, and animal, they are the basis of our life on earth. Without these resources, the plants, the animal, the water, even we won't think of life. So that's why there's a need to study this concept of natural resources. Then comes natural resources fall under two main categories. In the previous lecture, many concepts we have studied about the natural resources. Many concepts we have studied about the renewable resource and the non-renewable resources. So from the previous lecture, the gist we get that is the renewable resource are the type of natural resource which are provided to us by the nature, which are present in abundance, and these resources can be replaced. These resources can be renewed very easily. These resources can be renewed over a short period of time very easily. These resources can be replenished very easily over a short period of time. And these resources which we are using, they can be replenished at the same rate. Now, the concept about the non-renewable resources is just the vice versa of the renewable resources. These non-renewable resources are the natural resources, of course, but they cannot be replaced. They cannot be replaced over a short period of time. They cannot be replenished over a short period of time. And if we are using the natural non-renewable resources, then these resources, they are consumed at the rate very faster, but at the same rate, they cannot be renewed or they cannot be replenished. So there's an imbalance between the consumption of these resources and the production of these resources. Now comes the renewable resources. Renewable resources are those that can be replaced or never runs out. So as you can see with the picture, on one side there's a picture of sun, on the other side there's a picture of the forest. These are the resources. They are natural resource. They will never run out. And if we are capable of maintaining the forestation, if we are maintaining the level of tree, then they are produced in a natural way in a huge quantity. So these resources, they are renewable. They can be renewed very easily. They can be renewed over a short period of time, and they can be replaced or never runs out. The examples of these natural resources are solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydroelectric energy, and biomass. So if we see the example, the solar energy, which is a natural, which never finished, the wind power, the geothermal energy, obviously the earth is for the lifetime. So geothermal energy is a kind of energy which we get from the core of the earth. Then hydroelectric energy, the electricity generation by the means of water. And again, the water is the natural resource. And biomass energy, the plant material, the animals, and these again, plants and animal are the natural resources which never be finished. Then comes the solar energy. Since Earth formed, the sun has produced energy in the form of heat and light. It is considered unlimited. The sun isn't going anywhere. Wind power. Wind is moving air created as the sun heats the earth's surface. As long as the sun is shining, the wind remains an infinite renewable resource. So both these resources are natural resource, the solar energy, the energy from the earth, and we get heat and light from the sun. And this solar energy or the heat from the sun is considered unlimited because it isn't going anywhere. Now, wind energy, the same is with the wind. The moving air creates the sun's heat, the earth's surface. As long as the sun is shining, then we won't have the need to think about the shortage of wind power. Then comes the flowing water creates energy that can be captured and turned into electricity, which is called hydroelectric power. Water is constantly renewed by water cycle, which make this a renewable resource. So again, water is available in nature in plenty. But of course, there's a need to save water. Of course, there's a need to save water in a sustainable manner. Now, water is a kind of natural resource, and we are using water for the production of electricity, which is called hydroelectric power. So, we are producing the electricity and we are using the electricity as a source of energy, but we are using that by indirectly the means of natural resource. So, water is constantly renewed by the process of hydrological cycle. So if the water is continued, if the water is constant, then we won't have the worry to think about the production of electricity. But if we are focused toward the sustainable use of water as a natural resource. When we use heat from the earth to generate energy that is called geothermal energy. Geo means earth and thermal means heat. So we use the earth, we use for the production earth for the production of energy in the form of the heat which is inside the earth. So in a geothermal energy, geo means the earth and the thermal means the heat. Heat we get from the earth. The earth is constantly being warmed up by its core. So when we use geothermal energy, we don't use up resource. Like when we do, we burn gas. This makes it a renewable resource. Using geothermal heat pumps is a great way to heat or cool building. So here we can see that the earth, it is forever. And if we are using the heat from the earth, then it is a continuous source of energy. That is called geothermal energy, which is a constant source of energy and we will continuously get it. Now comes the biomass. Now, biomass is any material, any of the material which we get from plants and animals, and that we can convert into energy. It is considered renewable because we can always grow more plants and trees. So, if we think of the biomass energy, if we think about the production of energy from the biomass, then this is a type of energy which is abundant because by continuously reproducing the animals, by continuously growing more and more plants, we can produce more biomass and we can use this biomass as a source of energy. But of course, even for the biomass energy production, we need to save the plants, we need to save the animals. Now, the types of biomass under that, before that is the wood, second that is the crops, the third that is the animal waste. When you burn wood in your home, it releases energy which heats your home. Again, the wood is a type of natural resource and we are using this wood for the production of energy in the form of biomass. Then the crops like corn or sugar cane can be converted into a biofuel called ethanol, which can be used instead of gasoline in many cars. So as we compare the cost, then this biofuel is cost effective. It is comparatively much more cheaper. The production of the biofuel is comparatively easy as compared to the gasoline and other fuels. And of course, it is eco-friendly. Somehow, it has a contribution toward solving the problem of global warming because the various toxic chemicals which are released by these these biofuels by the production of or by the use of these gasolines, these biofuels, they contribute toward reduction the problem of global warming. Then animal waste such as cow manure is often used for fertilizers. Many animal waste we can use in the form of cow manure and we can use this for the purpose of fertilizers. And of course, These cow manure, they are eco-friendly. They are natural fertilizers. So somehow they are used for enhancing the fertility of the soil in the natural way. They do not harm the environment. They do not cause the water pollution. They do not cause the land pollution and the soil pollution because these are the natural fertilizers and they are good in quality. Now comes the non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources are those that cannot be replaced at the same rate it is being used. It takes a long time to be replaced. So, as we study the concept of non-renewable resources, so these are the resources which cannot be replaced very easily over a short period of time. They cannot be replaced, they cannot be replenished very easily. And it takes a very longer time for them to be replaced. So, most non-renewable energy sources are fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and oil. And if we consider these fossil fuels, then coal, natural gas, and oil, it takes a very longer period. It takes millions of years for the development of or for the formation of the coal and natural gases. So it is not very easy to replenish them. And there is a, there shouldn't be a there isn't a balance in between the use of these resources and the production of these resources. The rate we are consuming them, the rate we are using them, they are not renewed or replenished at the same rate because we can use them very easily, we can use them very faster, but the formation of these resources, it takes a very longer period. Now comes the fossil fuel. Fossil fuel release heat energy when they are burned and they are used to create energy and electricity. They are formed from the remain of living organisms. Million of years ago, now the types of fossil fuel. The fossil fuels are coal, oil, natural gas. Coal is a black or brownish rock. When we burn coal, it creates the energy. Oil is a liquid fossil fuel. Most of the world's oil is still deep under the ground. We rely on natural gas to give power to lights, TV, air conditioner, and kitchen appliances. So, fossil fuel release heat energy when they are burned. So, obviously, when the heat is produced, and as we compare the population, then how much consumption of this heat energy is as per the daily basis. So how much we are contributing toward the global warming. So there is a need to control the use of these fossil fuels because they are not as such eco-friendly for the nature. And when they are burned, they used to create energy and electricity. So obviously the energy in the form of electricity is produced with them, but they create a lot of pollution. They were formed from the remains of living organism million of years ago. So it takes a very longer period for the formation of these fossil fuels. And these fossil fuels are coal, oil, and natural gas. And in the previous lecture, we have studied the formation of these natural resources. So oil is a liquid fossil fuel. The most of the world oil is still deep under the ground. Then for our daily life activities, we are using TVs, air conditioners, and kitchen appliances. we are continuously using the natural gases, which creates the pollution to greater extent. Then, burning fossil fuel are harmful to the environment. When coal and oil are burned, they release particles that can pollute the air, water, and land. So, by using the fossil fuel, we are continuously doing the production of the heat. And this heat rise the temperature of the environment, and which has a great impact over the global warming. And when coal and oil are used and burned, they release particles and they can pollute air, water, and land. So when we use these fossil fuel, it creates the air pollution. It deteriorates the quality of the air. And when we breathe that air, we breathe in that air, it creates lot of respiratory problems. It creates various nasal problems. Then the burning of these fossil fuel, it creates water pollution also. And as water is polluted, we know that only 1% of the water that is available in the form of groundwater for fresh form to human beings. So if this water is polluted, then obviously many other entities in the nature will be impacted, like the drinking water will be polluted. And if the water will be polluted, it creates directly or indirectly various diseases in human beings. Then the water, when chemicals are percolated, it impacts the crops, it impacts the fertility of the soil. And due to the deposition of chemicals in these natural resource like water, it impacts animal also. Then the burning of fossil fuel also create a land pollution. It creates a huge problem of post disposition of the ash, post disposition of the remains which are left after the use of burning of these fossil fuel. And obviously, the chemicals which are left behind by using the burning of fossil fuels, they create the land pollution. And once the land is polluted, then obviously the vegetation of that area, the plants of that area, the animals of that area will be impacted. It reduces the fertility of the soil. It deteriorates the quality of the soil likewise. Then why are natural resources important? Now we have, in the lecture, we have studied various natural resources. So these natural resources are available to us by the nature. We have categorized them as the renewable resources and the non-renewable resources. We have studied that how the renewable resources can be renewed over a very short period of time. The non-renewable resources, they cannot be replenished, they cannot be replaced over a very short period of time in the same rate as we are using them. So, whatever the resources which are provided to us by the nature, without natural resources, the human would not survive. Because we have studied that the natural resources are the plant, the natural resources are water, the natural resources are forest, the natural resources are various forms of the energy. So if these natural resources are not available to us, we even won't think of life. We won't be able to survive without these natural resources. Because for our day-to-day activity, for each and every activity, like for our daily purpose, for our daily activities, we need water. For the functioning of the industries, for the functioning of the factories, we need various energy. They can be the renewable, they can be the non-renewable resources. Then people use natural resource every day, directly or indirectly. For any of the function we perform in our day-to-day routine, directly or indirectly, we are dependent on these resources, like for the food, for the shelter, for the clothing, for drinking, for eating, for running the cars, for running the automobiles. We need natural resource at every step. More than 60% of natural resource are toward food and drink, mobility, cars, trains, and housing. So for every activity, for our day-to-day routine, we are dependent on these natural resources. But there is a need to think that how these resources are produced, what are the sources of these non-renewable resources, how they are produced. If we are using them, we are consuming them, then is it easy to replace them? It is easy to replenish them. Then if we are using these natural resources in renewable form, then there's a need to think that how to use them in a sustainable manner, or how to follow the concept of sustainability development if particularly we are thinking for the use of fossil fuel, so that we can save some resource for our future generations too. Then if we are using these natural resources, then obviously we have the need to think about few of the alternate source of energy, that by using the alternate source of energy, somehow we can contribute toward the saving of fossil fuels. Those were non-renewable, those cannot be replenished over a very short period of time. Then there's a need to think that if we are using these natural resources, if then we aren't contribute toward the global pollution. We aren't contribute toward the global warming. And if we are contributing them, then how we can reduce, what are the steps, what are the necessary actions need to be followed for the environmental conservation, for the environmental protection, and for maintaining the biodiversity. So in the next lecture, we will discuss about that if we are using these natural resources, if we are using these non-renewable resources, if we are using these biofuels which are provided to us by the nature, then by the use of this, aren't we are disturbing our biodiversity? Aren't we destroying our nature? Aren't we destroying our natural creatures? And by the means of our action, by the means of our action on the environment, aren't we are creating a threat to our biodiversity? So in the next lecture, we will discuss about the ecosystem services. We will discuss about the threats to biodiversity, the threats to nature and environment. Thank you. That's it for today's lecture.